Today, they talk about mental illness as if it is a new bird that just flew into their homes. But let me tell you something. In the times of our ancestors, this bird had no perch in our land. Why, you ask?
Welcome back, lovely people. Today we will speak of why mental illness didn't exist in Indigenous Africa. Baba Dirisu's eye-opening wisdom. Imagine sitting under the expansive shade of an ancient baobab tree. The air hums with the buzz of life, as if nature herself is a curious listener. Baba Dirisu, the ever-wise elder with a twinkle of humor and sadness in his eyes, sits on a low stool. Around him are eager children and thoughtful adults, their ears tuned to every word of this master storyteller.
Ah, my children.
Baba begins, chuckling softly.
Today, they talk about mental illness as if it is a new bird that just flew into their homes. But let me tell you something. In the times of our ancestors, this bird had no perch in our land. Why, you ask? Because our society didn't give it space to land.
The audience laughs, but Baba raises a hand, signaling seriousness amidst the humor. The foundation of indigenous balance.
You see,
Baba says, his tone rich with wisdom,
our society was spiritual before it was material. And no, I am not talking about religion or mystical powers or spiritual gifts. Spirituality is a practical and precise way of life that simply translates to simply living in balance with nature and understanding your place in this great web of existence and life. In our ancestral world and cultural heritage, the family is the foundation of everything, not just the kind you see at weddings with matching clothes. No, I'm talking about a lineage that stretches across generations, bound by responsibility and the profound knowledge of reincarnation. We lived with the understanding that our lives were not our own alone. We were creating homes and foundations for our return. Imagine, my children, building a house so sturdy and balanced that when your spirit comes back, it finds shelter in prosperity and harmony. This is why everything we did was planned and executed with up to 7 generations in mind. We built a society we would want to return to, a world of peace and balance, knowing that our spirits would always return through our lineages. This was our way, our wisdom, and our sacred responsibility.
Mental illness as a disconnect. Baba Dirisu leans forward, his voice dropping to a whisper, drawing the group closer with the gravity of his words.
Ah, my children, let me tell you what happens when the balance is lost. Mental illness, as they call it today, is not merely a sickness of the mind. No, it is a disharmony, a breaking of the bridge between the material world and the non-material, spiritual world. And my children, when that sacred bridge collapses, chaos walks in uninvited.
He pauses, letting the weight of his words linger like the stillness before a storm.
When such disconnection arose in our communities,
he continues,
our healers, the priests, who could access the world of the ancestors, would step forward to restore harmony. This healing was not just for the individual, but for their entire bloodline. For we knew that the sickness of one could ripple like a stone thrown into a still pond, disturbing generations to come.
A society interconnected and in harmonious balance. With a broad smile and a twinkle in his eye, Baba gestures to the group.
Now imagine, my children, living in a society so balanced that the bird of mental illness found no branch to perch on.
What did it look like?
He begins counting on his fingers, each statement laced with humor and the wisdom of his ancestors.
It was a society eco-conscious, respecting the lands, rivers, and animals, fiercely protecting nature from abuse. It had no prisons because it did not produce the kind of extreme criminality you see today. No street children, because every child belonged to a home, a family, a community. No old age homes, because the elderly, especially the elders, were treasures cared for communally and held in the highest esteem. No concept of employment, because everyone had access to the means of production and the dignity of self-sufficiency. No landlessness, because land was understood as a natural right for everyone. No destructive technology, because we advanced without sacrificing nature or our spirits. No objectification of humans or nature, because both were regarded as spiritual and sacred. No unimaginable human and natural waste, because everything was sustained in harmony with creation.
Baba grins mischievously, his tone shifting to playful sarcasm.
Can you see why the bird of mental illness had no room to land? We respected nature and each other. But now, my children, we treat humans like machines and machines like gods. And then we wonder why the gears are breaking down.
Living in harmony with the spirit. Baba's voice grows softer but no less powerful.
My children, the human being is a spirit on a journey. This body we wear is temporary, merely a vessel for our short time on earth. Our ancestors knew this truth and built a society that prioritized the needs of the spirit above all else. And do you know the irony? By prioritizing the spirit, we also achieve material prosperity that was sustainable across generations. But this prosperity was never at the expense of the harmony between the human spirit and nature. This was the brilliance of our forebears, their understanding that the well-being of the spirit is the foundation of a thriving society.
He leans back, his gaze sweeping across the group as if daring them to imagine such a world again.
It is not too late, my children, to rebuild that bridge and create a society where harmony reigns and the spirit thrives.
Healing and maintaining mental health. Baba's voice softens, carrying the weight of his wisdom.
Even today, my children, in the indigenous settings that have preserved our ways, healing is not only possible, it is inevitable. The priest, guided by the divine, bridges the spiritual and material worlds, restoring harmony to the individual. And that harmony, my children, is what preserves life itself.
He pauses, his gaze moving from one listener to the next, as if drawing them into the depth of his understanding.
Now, if you ask me how to maintain good mental health, the answer is simple. Recognize our interconnectedness with all life forms. Stay connected or reconnect with each other and with the Creator's design for His creation. Build communities, not silos of individual living. Live in harmony, not competition.
Baba leans forward, a playful glint in his eye.
You see, my children, not following the Creator's design is like using a refrigerator as a stove and then scratching your head, wondering why it has stopped working.
The audience bursts into laughter, the humor lightening the gravity of his words. But even as they laugh, Baba's message lingers, settling into their hearts like seeds waiting to grow. Closing reflections. With a mix of sadness and hope, Baba Dirisu rises.
You see, my children, the way forward is also the way back to our roots, our ancestors, and the balance they knew. The bird of mental illness can still be driven away, but only if we build no branches for it to land on. May we all remember this wisdom and teach it to those who have forgotten.
The group bows and kneels in gratitude as Baba Dirisu's words settle in their hearts like seeds waiting to bloom. Thank you very much for staying through till the end. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Meritar Wisdom YouTube channel for more of Baba Dirisu's teachings.